can grab a seat here. So would like to welcome everyone to our community workshop today for our get input on our budget process. Want to recognize we have, thought we'd have a couple more of our council members. Mayor Delgado is here. Our elected officials, they are here to listen. They're not gonna, this is the chance for us to hear from the public, the council. We've had a retreat previously. We're gonna have another retreat with them on Monday. So we'll have lots of opportunities here from the council, but today is your day that we want to hear from the public about your concerns, about your priorities, as it helps us develop our budget process. I want to just introduce over our team here. We have Tori Hanna. She is our finance director. We have our police chief over here, Randy Hopkins. Guido Persicone over here. He is our community development director. And then Ron Whitmore, he is with Ramey and Associates, and he is going to facilitate our priority setting workshop today. And then Councilmember Vischer just came in here. Yeah, she's back there. I just want to emphasize really how important it is for us to hear from you on your ideas and your concerns. In our budget process, we have lots of opportunities to hear direction from our council, our city staff, all of our departments. They give input internally, but on a separate process, we really want to hear your priorities and your concerns. And hopefully as we go through this, we have a format that each table, and Ron is going to be explaining our format in a little bit more detail. But at the end of all this, it's going to be all compiled together. And this input then goes to our staff and the council as we try to put our budget together. And our budget process is a lot of different kinds of budgets. You hear about zero-based budget, you hear about a priority-based budget, baseline budget, line item budget, budgeting for outcomes. And our budget is really more, it's a budgeting for outcomes budget. And by that is the priorities that we hear from the council and the public. Those are the outcomes that are important to us. And so as we put our budget together, which is really an allocation of our staffing and resources, we're trying to achieve those outcomes that we're hearing from you today. And so it's really important that we have that. And so with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Ron Whitmore from Ramey and Associates.
Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for taking time out of this beautiful. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking time out of your beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Marina to join us for this budget prioritization meeting. As Lane mentioned, my name is Ron, and I should have put a name tag on, I'm sorry. But you can also just say, hey, you, or hey, hairless guy, whatever you want to call me by is fine. I'm here just to help us today make sure we capture all of your great ideas about how the city should prioritize as it thinks about its budgeting process for this next. It's a 2-year cycle, right? Your budgeting cycle. Let me quickly give you a overview of how we're going to spend the next hour and 50 minutes together. We are here doing the welcome and workshop overview. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Tori after this overview, who's going to give you some background information that will be very helpful for you to keep in mind as we go through the exercises today. We'll then spend a very short period of time just answering any clarifying questions you may have at that point, but we don't want to spend too much time on questions. Staff will be available after the workshop to address any detailed questions or any questions we don't have time for today. But we do want to spend most of our time in small groups today at these tables, taking you through a set of exercises that are designed to get your input on 3 things. Key topics, that is major areas of focus. As Lane mentioned, it's an outcome-focused budgeting process. We very much want the community's input on what those key outcomes are that the city's budget should aim for. Phase 2 of that process then will be getting your input on some specific projects. So these are much more specific projects. It's a variety of physical types of projects as well as programming, We'll talk a bit more about that when we get to the small group session. And then third, we're going to want input on some specific public facilities. Those are specific buildings, recreational facilities, pools, et cetera, that we'd like your input on as well. And that's going to take about from 2:30 to 2:40 to 3:30, and then we're going to reconvene as a large group and have each of the small groups share some of the highlights from their prioritization process. And then we'll be sure to have you out of here by 4 o'clock. Any questions about how we're spending our time together today? Yes. There'll be about 5 or 10 minutes after Tori's presentation to answer any questions you may have about the budgeting process. If we don't have time at that point to address all the questions, staff will stay afterwards and be available to answer additional questions. Today's focus is really on getting input. And so we do want to make sure we answer any clarifying questions, but if we run out of time for questions, staff will be available afterwards. Any other questions about how we're spending our time together today? Okay. With that, then I'll turn it over to Tori, and then you'll see me again, and I'll explain and introduce the small group exercise.
Good afternoon. I'm Tori Hanna. I'm the city's finance director. I've been with the city just about 9 months, and I've been a CFO, a finance director, and assistant city manager for probably about 14 years with Capitola, Monterey One Water, and Pacific Grove. And I'm actually a Marina resident of about 25 years, so it's great to be here in the city. Basically, this is an overview of where we're going with the process. We're going to talk about what is the budget, basically a little bit of a budget 101, and also talk about some of the city's revenue and expenditures and a little bit about capital projects. And just noting that really this is just going to be a high level overview. I want to try to move through this pretty quickly because like the city manager and Ron said, this is really about getting your input. This just provides some context for it. So right now, the city of Marina has a 2-year budget cycle. It's important to get input now because it really is for a 2-year period. There's always time for us to amend the budget and change it, but some of the larger appropriations take place at this particular point. And really, the budget is a living document, so to speak. It's not just a bunch of numbers, but it is truly the city's operating plan for that year. We're applying resources to allocate for the next 2 years. The city's budget cycle runs from July 1 to June 30th. And there are 2 types of budgets: the operating budget, which is typically salaries and services, and then you think of the capital projects that the city has. And if you have not stopped at the back counter, there's a list of capital projects that are currently underway. Next slide. So where we are right now is we are working to prepare the budget. We've already provided the council with a preliminary 5-year fiscal forecast. And this is a moving number. We update it regularly throughout the year, but it gives them an idea of the magnitude of what some of the decisions they make today could be in the future if you look out for some of specific milestones. And departments have already submitted their request at this point, what they would like to see in the budget. And information that's received from this and both the council retreat will help build the budget and decide what some of those additional requests can go forward in the two-year process. There's also planned to be another public meeting for larger items in April, May, and then the proposed budget is brought forward in June. Next slide. One of the things the city has adopted is a resolution which talks about maintaining a structurally balanced budget. This helps the city manage costs because are there sufficient ongoing revenues to support ongoing expenses? The council can appropriate additional monies like you'll see that we have in our fund balance for one-time items, but it's the best practice really to make sure that you're managing within your day-to-day means for your operating cost. And when we looked at it last in fiscal year 24-25, we have about a $362,000 buffer, saying that operating revenues are that much more higher than our expenses. Next slide. So there are several types of funds. You might think of them as buckets of money. They segregate different types of operations in the city. The main city fund is the general fund that supports police, fire, community development, administration, and recreation. Those are your basic city services, and a lot of emphasis on the presentation is going to be on the general fund. We also have special revenues funds, and we're going to touch on a couple of those that relate to capital projects. But those are funds that are typically restricted or mandated, that you can only use the monies that you receive for certain things. Like when you think of gas tax, you can only use it for streets. And when you think about public facility impact fees, they can only be used for projects that are a percentage of the growth that's attributed to those fees collected by developers. We have enterprise or proprietary funds like the airport fund, but really we're going to look at a couple special revenue funds, the general fund, and capital projects. Next slide. So we ended the year of fiscal year 23-24 with $47.2 million in fund balance. And one thing to note is the city has set aside some funds for fiscal resiliency and for planned purchases. Like you'll see $4.6 million allocated to the vehicle and equipment fund. The city sets aside money every year so that when it's time to make these larger purchases, the money will be on hand and it's not one big hit to the general fund. We also have pension stabilization fund of $5 million. That's to help the city smooth costs for rising pension costs. We know at some point it's going to level, but this gives us a buffer in trying to control annual cost. And we also set aside funds for emergencies, earthquakes. How are we going to handle that? So there's funds for that. The piece that is available or not assigned, so to speak, available to place on budgeted items is a $24 million unassigned fund balance. Next slide. One of the things we've looked at is the fund balance has built up over the few years. A lot of the contributing factors were one-time land sales. So while we've seen revenues in excess of expenditures in several years, some of the reasons for this higher $23.4 million is because it has been built up by those one-time sales. And right now we're projecting ending fiscal year 24-25 with $23.4 million. Next slide. So what sources support the general fund? Taxes is the most largest share. That accounts for about 78% of monies coming to the general fund. The city also gets monies from fees and services. For example, when you think of community development, all the cost to issue a permit or plan checks, they're costed out so that the end user who takes advantage of those services are charged for that service rather than using tax dollars. And some services or offerings, such as recreation services, is partially subsidized by the general fund. It's partially funded by fees, but partially funded by the general fund because it's something that the community wants to support. Next slide. Another point of noting is the city has benefited and services have benefited a lot from voter-approved measures. Measure N passed in November of 2018, and it brought in an additional $2.3 million in revenues for the city. And also Measure P, the lodging tax in 2018, that difference brings in about $1 million. There's also been a marijuana business tax approved, and we're seeing about $320,000 a year brought in by that tax. Next slide. One of the top revenue sources for the city is property tax. And you'll see that that brings in combined just over $10 million per year is what we're projecting at year end. The city gets regular property tax, as well as we sometimes get one-time FORA surplus distributions and a successor agency distribution. These are in addition to our regular taxes. They may not be considered ongoing, but we've seen them over the last couple of years. One thing is, some people might ask, well, we're having so much building development. How does that impact our property tax revenue? Well, if you look at the assessed home valuation of $500,000, the 1% value that comes from that's assessed is about $5,000. But the city of Marina, out of that $5,000, really gets about $750. The rest of it goes to other entities, with schools and education taking the largest share. Next slide. The second largest source of revenue is sales and use tax. Marina's tax is 9.25%. And if we're looking at an example where there's $100 in sales, they're charged $109. Of that $9.25, the city of Marina gets $2.50. So the city does not get all of that money, but just a portion of that related to the tax. And right now we're seeing kind of a leveling. There's all talk about economic uncertainty. We're seeing somewhat of a leveling, but still very strong sales tax revenues. Next slide. Transit occupancy tax is growing. It's our third largest source. With the addition of new hotels, you can see that it's moved from 4.6 million and 5.5 million to 6.3 million. The complete tax is paid by visitors. It's not paid by residents. And we're looking at original tax is 5 million, and we're also getting 248,000 from short-term rentals. So they're also contributing in addition to the $1 million from Measure P. Next slide. So how are the general fund money spent? When we're looking at the fiscal year 24 amended budget as a baseline, over 58% is spent on salaries and benefits. And you may think that's high, but when you think of city services, a lot of it is staffing. When you think of your police, your firefighters, your public works crew, those are all salaries and benefits that you're funding. So that's why you see such a significant share of salaries and benefits, which is probably close to $23.2 million out of that 40 million in the amended budget. Next slide. We included this slide just to share with you how much of the budget different departments take up, and there's a dollar amount associated with each one as well as the percentage. But for example, one of the departments that take up, two other departments really that take up the largest slice of the operating budget is police and fire, public safety, with police taking about 28.7% and fire at about 16%. Next slide. So factors that could impact the city finances over the next couple of years is economic uncertainty, talking about tariffs, talking about potential recession, inflation outpacing revenue growth. The city also has a significant backlog of deferred maintenance. The city is also entering into agreements with the employee groups this year, so we'll see how that goes, but that's a factor that needs to be considered. And also rising insurance cost. The one item that you'll see in the city budget that's been significant over the last since fiscal year 17-18 is cost associated with groundwater stabilization litigation. And the city has so far estimated to spend, including this year, about $15.8 million or $2 million a year over that period. We're anticipating that to decline next year and actually level out to what would be a more normal level beginning in 26-27. Next slide. So capital projects and resources. These are the larger ticket items that you think of capital projects, but also you may think of significant expenditures such as like a fire truck or some of the police vehicle fleets. Next slide. And typically, this is just to show how some of the different funding sources go to cover certain things. The general fund can fund pretty much any type of street projects, facilities, parks, and environmental. But when you look at some of the other funds, such as Measure X or the road maintenance and rehabilitation, those funds are restricted so that the city can only spend them on streets, roads, and sidewalks repairs. Public facility fees can only spend on infrastructure, parks, and facilities that are impacted by new development. It could be a percentage, say, new city hall. Maybe only a certain percentage can be attributed to growth. So that would not, the thought being of that is that it could not fund the city hall 100%, but it does have some funds that can be attributed to that, as well as public safety. And the FORA Dissolution Fund is restricted to blight removal, habitat management, and redevelopment projects in the Fort Ord, and airport is restricted to be using for just airport cost. Next slide. Within your packet, within the informational material in the back of the room, there's listings of all of these specific projects. But the projects that are underway and active is about 88, with about $138 million in allocated funds. And you can see it across those, with streets and sidewalks receiving the largest allocation, or 60% of that amount. And the next highest would be parks at 26.9 million, or 19% of that dollar amount. Next slide. One of the things that the city is budgeting for is using the FORA Dissolution Fund monies to fund the sports and aquatics, the Aquatics and Sports Center. They're going to be using the revenues for that, or plan to use the revenues for that over the next 5-6 years to help finance that. And there's going to be an interfund loan from the general fund that will help for cash flow purposes during those few years while we're waiting for those monies to come back. Next slide. And we just included the public facility impact fees, since we did have a bond measure out, just showing how much we have in each section. Public facilities, we've accumulated about 6.8 million. And for public safety, about $1.8 million. And with that, one more slide, I believe. Just considerations as you go through this exercise. We talked about potentially entering the year with $23.4 million. That amount would be the amount that's available in the unassigned account for potential appropriation. But because of that inter-fund loan that's going to provide some cash flow for the Aquatics and Sports Center, there's been talk of about approximately 11 plus million, which would reduce the amount available for appropriation right now to 11.6 million. So when you enter this exercise, you're going to be asked to consider what is most important to you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ron.
Thank you very much, Tori. I have heard many budget presentations in my years, and that was one of the better ones. Clear, very clear, concise, excellent information. We do want to get into the small group exercises, and we're really here to hear your input. So, but before we jump into that, are there any quick clarifying questions about anything that Tori just covered? Yes, sir.
Can we get a copy of how can we get a copy of that presentation?
I assume it'll be posted online? Yeah, so this session is being recorded, so you can watch both the video if you'd like to, and a copy of the slides will be posted online.
Are the FORA funds, are there stipulations that come with those that they have to be used for recreation or the aquatic center, or can we use them for other things?
The FORA funds are restricted to being used in the former Fort Ord area, and it's specifically for blight removal, habitat management, or redevelopment activities within that specific area.
Great questions. One more, sir.
Can we move around so we have equal people on the
I will do that in just a minute. Any other questions about the presentation that Tori just shared with you? All right, we are right on schedule. Thank you, sir, for keeping us moving along. I forgot to mention earlier, if you're not familiar with the facility, there are restrooms in the back, just around behind these side walls here. And then if you didn't notice coming in, there are handouts in the back, as Tori mentioned. There's a detailed sheet of capital improvement projects, as well as a detailed sheet of budget priorities and a copy of the agenda. And then also there are refreshments in the back. So please do keep yourself hydrated and nourished so that you have the energy for today's exercises. Okay, we're now going to transition to the small group exercises. And you're going to have a facilitator at each of the three tables. And I think we have about the right numbers for 2 tables. So I'm not sure how the facilitators will try to break themselves up, but we do want to hear primarily from community members. I know there are some elected officials here, and I also know that there are city staff here. We invite you to listen closely, but we prefer that we allow the participants to participate most actively in the exercises. I'm actually gonna I'll move you around in just a second, but let me first introduce the exercises. There are going to be more or less 4 parts to this small group exercise. The first is just a quick round of introductions. The facilitators are going to invite you to introduce yourself, share how long you've lived in Marina, what you love about it, and just initial sense of what your budget priorities are. But then there's 3 substantive phases to the process, and each is really identical. It's just asking for your input on different aspects of budget prioritization. The first is going to be based on the top sheet in your stack of posters on the table. And you're going to ideally arrange these posters in a way that everybody can see them clearly. But the first exercise will be focused on high-level topics. Again, as Lane mentioned, the city uses an outcome-focused budget process. And so it's very important for the city to understand what outcomes residents are looking for. And so that's what this initial topics sheet is all about. And the second phase will be focused more on projects. And so you'll finish the exercise of the topics and then shift to projects. And for that one, there are 3 sheets, and the facilitator at each table will help you spread those 3 sheets out across the table so that you can see all those potential projects together. And then the third phase will be focused on specific capital facilities projects. That is very physical infrastructure that you may see built in the city, facilities, pools, parks, etc. So there's 3 substantive phases of the small group work, and in each it's very simple. You all see sticky dots on your table. Color doesn't matter, but I am going to ask you to be honest. Because there's a different number of things to choose from on each of these sheets, I'm going to ask you, and the facilitators will help you with this, ask you to only use the number of dots for each assignment that is specified. For the first, it'll be 3 dots, for the second, 10, and the final exercise, just 2. Again, the color doesn't matter, but please be honest and don't vote more times than you're allotted. Be roaming the room and keeping a close eye on you. So if I see anyone cheating, I'll call you out. No, really, I'm just kidding. But and then also on the table are Post-its and pens. If you need more of any of these supplies, just let us know. And that's intended because each of the 3 phases of the conversation with the posters have a space at the bottom for other ideas. We know that city staff are smart and really understand the city's needs, but they're not aware of every single thing that the community consider to be an important budget priority. And so if you have other ideas, other topics, other projects, other facilities that you think are very important and a high priority, we invite you to note those legibly on a Post-it and stick them at the bottom of the relevant poster. So let me pause there and see if there's any questions about how we'll spend the next hour or so together. Yeah. No, and I know that's a little confusing. Yeah, so that's why so the first exercise is topics. There's just 1 sheet. Second exercise, there's so many projects. It took 3 posters to fit them all in. We hope to have it just down to 1, but the print would have been too small for everybody to see. And so the facilitators will help you with this. We'll spread those 3 sheets out across the table so that you can see them all at the same time, because we're going to ask you to distribute your 10 votes across all 3 sheets. Excellent question. Thank you. Other questions about the process? Oh, yeah, Lane has a few comments.
I wanted to clarify that on the project sheet, the 3 sheets, that is not comprehensive by any means. Yet we have a lot more projects, but we went through our project list, our capital projects, and we put the major ones there. And so if you're looking for comprehensive, no, this is not a comprehensive sheet, but it's a broad variety because again, we're trying to get a sense of your priorities and your outcomes. And so as you're putting your dots on these projects, it's helping us to understand, like we had a great engagement workshop this morning, and it came out very clear. Parking and more restrooms were really important, and so that on a high level, that is what we're trying to get from the dots. So if you don't see a project there, it doesn't mean that it necessarily is not being worked on. The other part that Ron talked about is those sticky notes. So there's projects, the things that you don't see, write them on there, and then when you're voting on your dots, if those stickies are important, that's your opportunity to put that in there. And then I think I may want to deviate one little thing. Like Ron had talked about having individually the groups introduce your name and how long you'd been here. But I think it worked out this morning when we had it as a group because everyone could kind of get a sense of everyone here. And Ron will definitely manage that, but that way everyone can kind of get to know the community a little bit more. So
that's a great idea. Yeah. Thank you, Lane. I had another thing that I knew I was going to share that I forgot. Oh, there's actually one final step in the process. Then we'll transition to introductions. So we want, before we leave today, for every small group to also report out and share with the whole group what their group identified, give them a sense for those priorities. So at group 3 sites, we're going to have your group identify a volunteer who will be happy to report out to the larger group. Okay, but first, let's do introductions as Lane suggested. If you could do me a favor and introduce yourself and answer 3 questions. The first is, how long have you lived in Marina? Second question, one thing you love about Marina. And then third, just your initial thoughts on why you came here and like what budget priority that you want to make sure get reflected or shared during today's workshop. Sir, may I put you on the spot? I'll take that as a no.
My name is Peter. I live here since 1981. So I came here because I'm frustrated with Mayor Delgado and the city council for not doing I and many resident propose and requests. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Yeah, my name is Jan, and I live Marina since 1985, and I like to retire now. I'm retired, so I like to learn more about how our city is operating. Thank you.
I'll pass it on to Brad, but my name's Bruce and I'm the mayor, and I moved here in 1996.
Good afternoon, Brad Imamura. My wife Kathy and I moved here in 2015, and really am appreciative that you're having this forum, and we want to get more familiar with how the budget works. Thank you. One thing I like. Oh, the environment that we're in. It's great. You know, we're spoiled here. And what was the other thing? Oh, a budget priority. I think infrastructure and keeping everything maintained that we have. All of our assets, maintenance. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
So name, how many years, what you love, and a budget priority.
Hi, Jason Smith. We've been here, my wife and I have been here for 15 years, lived down at the other end of Hillcrest, and I'm retired from Moss Landing Marine Labs. but love it here in Marina. The smaller town feel, easy to get to other places, regardless of bus transit, et cetera, but that's another topic. And budget priorities, I would say, yeah, maintenance, get these roads in better condition. In our section, they just finished putting in all the handicap crosswalks, so that's wonderful. But yeah.
Hi, my name is Dessa. I am Jason's wife. Moved here 15 years ago, and was able to afford a home. We were very lucky. We came from Pacific Grove. A smaller sense of community. At the time, Pacific Grove, Monterey Peninsula was, rapidly changing. So we do love it here. We were able to afford a home. And one of my big things is safety. I do know that the fire department is stretched. We hear the fire and the ambulance all the time, and am concerned about the accessibility for everyone in the, in the event of an emergency. And another priority for me would be is park maintenance, beautification. I know it's not a priority, but it is something that I think that Marina could maybe step up the game a little bit if it's not, something is too frivolous. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fred Nelson, and I've lived in Marina for 2 years, but I've lived here throughout the 20 years that I've been on the peninsula when I moved here for college in 2005. And I love Marina. It's my favorite part of Monterey. I like how small it is. I like the diversity of the restaurants we have here. I like our little parks, and I really like our community. And ultimately, just want to get involved and kind of protect our community from some of the bigger things happening in the federal level. So just here to start to learn and explore and figure out what's going on.
Hi, my name is Mark Melendez. I live over on Lindy Circle, 185. I come out every Saturday and work over in the garden. I really feel like that's a priority for me as far as the community being livable. I want to see the parks taken care of. And in particular, I would like us to use our funds properly on the, we're doing work around Lock Padden from what I understand, and I'm hoping we don't wholesale cut the Thule up as we're trying to work on making it publicly accessible. But I don't want to forget our priorities of taking care of wildlife, which means not doing some kind of wholesale cutting as we're trying to, I guess, allow people to see the lake. And maybe we need to think over what we're actually doing on that. So I know we've allocated funds already for it, but I would like us to make sure we're doing the right kind of, what is it? I guess just opening, not being overly cutty-like. I love this town. This is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Hello, my name is Young Soo. I work with the Korean Association in Marina, and also I'm with the ACOM, Asian Community of Marina, and this is very new to me, so I'm kind of want to learn, what everybody doing. But main thing that I'm here is the Asian Garden. I think the many cities, throughout California, they have all attractions. Some of them are like a Chinese Chinatown and Japantown and Japan Garden. All those gardens are main attraction for the city. So if I go to like a San Jose, I go to like a Japan Garden and stuff. So I think Marina City doesn't have that yet. So I think city is really growing right now and developing everywhere. But there's I think it's about time to start thinking about like a bring like Asian garden in the town, so more people from outside come to visit. And I think it's good for the people and for the city of Marina. And I, uh, I think the Marina City is so unique. It's a hometown for many Korean Americans and Asian people. So we should start thinking about funding some money into the Asian Garden. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Songsim Choi. I moved from Virginia 2 years ago. Right now, I'm teaching Korean in DLI. And in Virginia, we have large Korean community. But here, before I moved to California, I thought, okay, diversity in California, but okay, not that much. So I wanted to see more the culture shows and cultural events for all the cultural background, language regardless those background, we can share our the future to our children and family. So I'm very interested in developing the park and recreational and then cultural event. And then more family involvement and then education program in the city of Marina. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vivian Waldrop Patterson, and I work at Cal State Monterey Bay. I'm the director of their Teaching and Learning Center for Faculty Professional Development. How long I've been in Marina? My dad was in the military, so they purchased property here in 1977. So I might be the oldest person in the room, actually, though I don't look that way. I guess that would be about 48 years. So I got the flyer. So, kudos to everyone who sent messages out. And because I have a MBA and a PhD, I was attracted to the process. I was like, wow, they want the community to participate. That was kind of the driving force for why I'm here today. But then additionally, I had a wondering, because as I drive through Marina, I'm seeing homes, built, and it just made me wonder what support is there for folks who have already been here and who have been, here for many years. What support is there for residents to upgrade their homes, low-cost loans, that kind of thing? Now, today's process may not be about that. I'm still very intrigued about this process, but I do have a wondering. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
My name is Debbie Salter. My husband and I moved here 9 years ago. We had purchased a house prior to that because we knew this is where we wanted to live. And I had worked for the city of Porterville, and I had a connection to Marina because my last 10 years was the city manager's secretary. And my first city manager I worked for was John Longley, and he used to be the city manager of Marina. And so I loved working for the city. It was a marvelous job. And so I know how important the city structure is to its citizens. And I love the diversity in Marina. That's something that attracted me. I know what bulgogi is and kimbap. And I enjoy cultures, and I would love to see more demonstration of that. But I think my top priorities for budgets are public safety, because that affects every citizen. And as we expand, if we have more citizens and don't increase the number of public safety employees, that each citizen is getting less attention and less security, I feel. And so I would like to see those departments expanded along with the population. And that's very important to me. I would also right under that, I would like to see a new city hall. I think when the lady was talking about beautification, a new city hall, I think these were double wide trailers that were brought in 1974 or so. Yeah, I've tried to learn history here. And they were supposed to be used for a year. They're still here. That the way that people think of us as a city, when they come here, you know, I don't feel it's the professional people that are working for the city. I don't think it is. And we want to impress people with what a wonderful community we are and how professional we are. And so that's a big priority to me. I don't know if other budget things could be used, like utility users taxes or whatever. But anyway, that's the things that I think are priorities, and I love it here.
First impressions. What do you think about first impressions? They're powerful, aren't they? When you drive up here, on your way up here, what kind of impression do you get? Look at the area around here, the gardens. It's a weed patch, guys, you know? So my concern, okay, my name is Steve, married to my lovely wife, Debbie. You know the rest of the story. I think my concern is and I've heard this expression, new Marina and old Marina, right? So it's important to me that we grow together. It doesn't appear to be happening that way right now, right? So if we're not careful, if the city doesn't act quickly, we're going to be known as old, dirty Marina. That's not the impression that we want to make. By the way, I do love living here.
Jeff Uchida, retired school teacher. I'm on the school board here at MPUSD. Been involved with a few things in the community, a rec commissioner way back a few years now, but Marina is a special place, and I think we're here and we are aware of it. It is a special place. Community members are so supportive of so many things. It's just an ask oftentimes, especially coming from the schools. Just a couple announcements. You know, you see our brand new stadium going up. Should be, knock on wood, opening up football season next year, and barring any thing we don't see, but it's coming. It's going up fast. So hopefully we'll have a big opening for football season and multi-use. I am a proponent back in the days when I was on the rec commission, working with getting that swim gym complex. And I think everybody knows, and I'm sure that people within the city, it is going to be expensive. And talking to people in Monterey and growing up in Monterey, knowing what the cost is, but the benefits truly outweigh whatever the cost is going to be for all our citizens, not just the kids and the youth basketball, but for older folks, swimmers, and just people that need to exercise and move around. So I used to, when I taught at Los Arbos, you know, summertime kids, or not even summertime, throughout the year, you know, what are they doing? They're going to Monterey to the sports center, paying $8, $9 a trip. We can have that here, and our kids can grow up here in the neighborhood. And one of the biggest things I am as a former teacher here and now representing Marina, we want to keep the kids in Marina. Too many of our young people are going over. If you find out about our school and what we offer here, dual enrollment is one thing. Graduating from Marina High School, leave Marina High School with an AA degree. They've cut out 2 years at a university. So huge savings, excellent teachers. And, you know, we get parent involvement. That's 99.9% of it. Is so seeing it's mostly people my age, you know, we need to make sure we spread the word out to the younger folks that is a place that they can get quality education. Thank you. We'll keep in touch.
Brian McCarthy. I'm actually one of the electeds. I'm on the city council, so I don't know if you gave me the mic intentionally or not, but I've got it now. just say two things real quick. What do I love most about Marina is the people in this room. It's the diversity of not only the people, but the diversity of thought and the people not being afraid to think differently than their neighbor and have reasonable conversations. And the other thing I want to say is I learned a new term today. It's called STP. Has staff ever heard of this before? Do you know STP? So I was told, and apparently this is well known, STP is same 10 people. And a lot of cities deal with this. It's the same 10 people that always show up and give their opinions and they drive the decision making. And I'm really excited to see not only the same 10 people here today, but many that are not in that same 10 people group. And so I'd really encourage you when you go home, ask your neighbor, ask your family to participate in these discussions because it's really important. So thank you to not only the same 10 people that are here, but those of you that are not in that group, please continue to show up. It's really appreciated and notice that you're here today.
Thank you. So I'm also an elected official. I'm your Mayor Pro Tem, Lisbeth Visser. So I won't talk about the budget, but I would like to talk explain how I got involved in politics, because I moved here 8 years ago, and I've already confessed until that time I'd never even attended a council meeting in any of the cities where I was living. But here I met Bruce, our mayor. I got involved, dragged into the water politics to protect our water and those 3 ballot measures, the Now Please Vote, MPV. And I was so happy when Tori explained it's working. You know, we knocked on people's doors to ask them to, then we had to walk again to ask them to please vote yes. And we explained how much extra money the city would be getting from these 3 ballot measures. And it's working. So this is what really excited me. If you talk to people, explain the items to people. And in such a small city, this is the smallest city I've ever lived in, there's such a direct reaction. So thank you all for being here. And for now, I'll just listen. Thank you.
Name, how long you've been in Marina, one thing you love, and top budget priority.
My name is Lisa. I have lived in Marina for over 15 years. The thing I love the most is the people. I can tell you the names of all the people who live on my street and what they do. They can also do the same because we're very good at hanging out together. The thing I am here for most is I am very passionate about the quality of life of all of our citizens in the city of Marina. And I am right now emphasizing my focus on recreation and social activities. I want to see every age out there moving around, and I want to see every age meeting up with each other and doing things together so that we can always support each other.
My name is Debbie. I moved here in 2015. Previous to that, I'd never heard of Marina. So one of my favorite thing in Marina, I can't say the word love, I like, is your library. The library is, wow, it's like top. Budget priorities. Unfortunately, the 2 public work people had to listen to me this morning at this morning's meeting. I just think some beautification for a couple of places and special gardens along Reservation and Del Monte that would benefit the city. I agree with Debbie and her husband on first impressions, because it's not as of 2 weeks ago, I did start hearing 3 times I've heard old Marina and new Marina. So that's what's been the last 2 weeks. So they're going to recruit me as a volunteer to maybe committee. I do not know. Great, simple idea, benefit at least a lot in Marina.
No, I got it. Thank you. Hello, Caroline Carroll. I've been here also for 10 years. I was a transfer to CSUMB from a big city, Los Angeles. So I do appreciate the small city feel. But given that we do have, two lanes each way, max, if we could make sure that there, no potholes and you could see the lines, and also sidewalks. So safety for all is my biggest concern. Or I'm a mom of 3 young children, under 13. And so just getting around now that I'm newly disabled, but getting around on the sidewalks is very important to me. So safety for all. And as we're growing, old New Marina, that we're able to keep everyone safe. So public safety is a big thing for me, and beautification of parks and access for all. Thank you.
I'm Jamie Schrabeck. I moved here in 2015. I am a native of the peninsula. I also serve on the Public Works Commission, having been recruited by my council member, Elizabeth, over here. Thank you. I have been one of the same two persons attending meetings in my industry. And so I'm not familiar with the same 10 people in this room, but I could guess who they are from their involvement earlier today. And I'm looking forward to getting to know them better. And what I see in Marina that I love about it is potential. So where we see blight, where we see deferred maintenance, where we see things not the way they could be, I see potential. And so this gives me encouragement that we can get there.
You're all staff, right? Okay. I think one gentleman came in. They are here to listen. Yeah. Sir, would you like to introduce yourself, share how long you've lived in this, what you love, and budget priority?
My name's Theodore Hightower. I've lived here, I've been in my apartment for 10 years, but before that, I went to CSU-B. I was a pioneer, but I got there in 96 and I liked it so much I stayed 9 years. So then I moved back to Salinas, which is home for me. And I worked there for a while. Then I started working at Seaside. I was going back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I just settled. I retired, and now I'm a in-home support person, which it's kind of stressful because she's going through a lot of medical problems, and I try to be cheery. She tries to be cheery, but it's not looking all that great. I love Marina because of the diversity and the cool weather. I miss the fog. We used to have a lot more fog. It used to be a lot thicker. And it's growing. It only can grow because we have so much land, but maybe not enough water. So I'm hoping we can conserve water.
Okay, did I miss anybody? I think from everybody who's here from the community. Yeah, okay, great. You know what? I am not from Marina. I live in San Jose. I grew up there. But now you made me love Marina. Just listening to everything you shared today about the place you live and obviously cherish. You obviously are also very clear about what makes for a beautiful, complete community. That protect the natural environment, the gardens, appropriate facilities for folks, good infrastructure, well-maintained roads, and then economic resilience, making sure that the city is in good stead, attracts tourists as appropriately, and is vibrant as a city overall. So thank you very much for joining us today. Obviously, you're very passionate about your place, and so we want to transition now to the exercise where we can hear specifically from you about what you have in mind for prioritization. This is going to require some choice making, and so we do encourage you again to limit your votes. I see this table already here has moved ahead on the assignment. I hope you have not voted more times than you're supposed to. You thought you were getting away with it. I saw you guys doing this over here. But I am going to actually ask us to consolidate into, I think we can fit nicely at 3 tables. So those of you who are not currently seated at this table, or this table, if you could please move yourselves. I'm sorry, the 3 of you, if you don't mind moving either this table or one of the others. And the folks in the back, if you're not at a table, other than the council members, you can stay where you are. If you could join a table so we can have robust conversation at these 3 tables here, that would be fantastic. And then, which of you is going to facilitate this table here? What's his name again? Ishmael. Thank you very much, Ishmael. So you guys are in Ishmael's care over here. He's going to walk you through the exercise. And then Tori, you're going to take this middle table? Or no, Guido's there. Oh, excellent. So Guido, you're here. And Tori over here. We can skip the intros, obviously. Yeah, so.
First, three projects.
Three dots for this exercise. So. Three. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. Quite limited, so everybody gets equal on topics. On topics, and then on projects. We'll get the projects, we'll get to that, but let's make sure everybody can.
This is the last one. Okay. Three projects.
Doesn't have any color.
Any color are equal. Color blindness. Another project.
There's actually a project, but there's one right there, but we'll get to that one. Yeah.
And of course, re-education. Marina 2015 folks refunding. What is that? This is like, I don't know, actually, okay, the reason I'm doing this, of course, you know, the mayor doing the $541. That's supposed to be more. You know, they did like a slow seal or something about that. That was the only. Or the HOA. No, I think it felt which kind of, I know most of it, a lot of it was Traditional. People start going crazy. Introduce that person. Last time I worked out there all the time. Getting a lot of what's accumulated over all those years? What's been spent? That's what I need to know. That should be very simple. Should be very simple. Yeah. So yeah.
I don't probably it's hard to see the world because
Yeah, that's why we were thinking. I like the inflation button. Yeah, I want to see that happen. We just need more. As far as labor. Do it. It needs to say, we already have. That top area. Working the software. Oh, no. So we need to have. Love that. Together.
And everybody's not figured out. And that's interesting.
You want to split them up?
Since we have a finite line dedicated for that, it's not like you're reaching out and saying, we're taking out of, you can't, you know, we gotta do the. So that's. No, it's not like money.
So,
Right there, it's big, yes.
right. The next one is education. And then the last one is. Yeah, and I really.
My kids, grandkids, they're all everybody on now. They obviously have.
This is what it has to side. All the other. Oh, the question is going to be about all of that is. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, depending on the, there's always costs. Maybe like a school zone. Wow, that's what we're. That's the. Where did they come up with your marks? Yeah.
Some of the things that go along with that, so that's. Yes, I was talking about the street team downtown and reservation. So. 25 years. 25 years. Yeah, I was. Yeah, there was a comment on that. Yeah, we're talking briefly about a certain like you were online or maybe a mail.
Everybody said, yeah, is that right?
Most people cost, but I think it was file, you just call people that.
Oh, yeah.
The law was not successful, whereas I needed to find out the alternatives that were.
Yes.
A trade-off, and I just want to how that's when public, the most important facilities. Discussion. Report out and one more time. No, they're gonna be, they're at the retreat, they had a 2-day retreat, but there was lots of questions and lots of information exchange. They're gonna be doing that on Monday, this Monday, with prioritizing hearing, you know, some of the feedback as well from the public. Information on the budget and Perfect. And then.
Don't wrap me up. Come on, girl.
We're not right.
Oh, we got two. Sort of. Not really. It's the same situation, and so it might be a trade-off, or it might be looking at it protect measure.
I see where it's from.
You know, looking at scoring
It's such a beach that you have a spoiler in the room. And you get 0%.
Yeah, that's what. We're done. Count. You can count.
I mean, that's how we're sending the report out.
There you go, Miss. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys make it out today. If there's like such a board, it's obvious, guys.
We did this one already.
Right.
I think they're not.
I think a lot of direction could be given at the meeting on Monday, but. Like, some of these. So you could actually number one on your house time. And then now. You know, even with grades on top of that.
I know they all have the same.
It's this, you know, it's a toss up before natural settings. Yes. Culture, very early. Other things that have been here. First, okay, so we have forgotten downtown, recreation. We are done. I've just that's not my real job.
Everybody, we're just wrapping up at the small groups. We're going to reconvene as a large group and hear back from each of the tables. You can grab a seat again, please. Get yourself something to eat or drink if you need that at this point. We'll be out of here by 4 o'clock. It,
No, I'm go for it.
While folks are getting settled, I'm super impressed with how thoughtful each of the tables were, giving this serious deliberation and consideration. Thank you very much. So what we're going to do now is one table at a time, just have folks briefly share some highlights from each of the 3 parts of the exercise so that the whole group gets a sense for the diversity of prioritization across the tables. And while the final table here is tallying, I'm going to briefly share with you what's going to be done with this information. Specifically, Lane mentioned earlier that generally this is going to be used to inform the council's prioritization, but very specifically, amazingly, between now and Monday evening, there are going to be worker bees who are going to be tallying all of your votes and transcribing all of the comments you left either on the posters or on the Post-its, and then preparing that to share with council to inform its deliberations on Monday night. Is that correct, Lane? Okay, so democracy at work, your input's going to be put right in front of your policymakers to help them decide and make some tough budget choices. Looks like we're just about ready. Is that right, Ishmael? All right, we'll start over here with what I'll call the overachieving table because they finished practically before we even started.
And you can see they're pointing to me. But just in general, our table chose as the highest choice, protect natural settings. Some of the other comments that came up was recognize and address the needs of low income residents and protect the habitat at Loch Paddock. In relation to the projects, the top choices where we had at least four dots was Parks, Recreations, and Trails Master Plan, Invest in the Core Downtown, and Traffic Calming. Those were our top choices there. And then missing was sidewalk projects in a specific neighborhood by, I believe it's Carmel and Rhine-Dollar. Public facilities, our top selection was city offices at City Hall. And there was something listed about a new satellite fire station to provide full and equal coverage to all residents.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's give him a hand. And who is presenting from table 2? Who wants the mic?
Okay, so table 2, our top one is Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services. We had a second, Safe and Secure. And then there was a tie between Safe and Secure and the Diverse, Vibrant Community. So that takes care of our topics. Next up, projects. Our number 1 project was construction of new city facilities. Number 2 was citywide beautification projects. And number 3 was community outreach and engagement improvements. Okay. Next up, more projects. Number 1 was blight removal from existing 200 plus structures. Number 2 was interconnected park and trail system. And there was a tie with that one for investment in core downtown vitalization and activation. Moving right along, more projects. Number 1, Parks, Recreation, and Trail Master Plan update. Number 2, expansion of youth, adult, senior, and after-school programming. And then number 3 is the equestrian city development for our group. So you can kind of see we're kind of touching on a lot of things here. And then the last one for public facilities, our number 1 is City Hall Chamber. The city council chamber, which we're here now. And then our number 2 is the city offices, and 3 was the community center. So that's it for our group.
You guys have a spokesperson?
Hello. So this was thrust upon me very suddenly for reasons beyond my understanding. And we voted in like stone cold silence. So it's going to be really hard for me to represent our interests here. Okay, so the number 1 thing we voted on in the first one was neighborhood, business, and community vitality. We had a difficult time separating that out from economic health and vitality, but I think we just wanted our neighborhoods to be safe and wealthy and secure, perhaps, was the big thing going on there. Yeah, I think a big thing that came up for us was several of these items seem to either be like too many things glued together or too many things like separated apart from each other. That could have been one thing. But here we have on this page, adult after school programming. That's the number 1 thing here. The biggest thing we voted on across all the pages here was increased staffing citywide to meet increased service demands, but also the reservation road streetscape and median reconstruction also got a lot of votes here. I think we just wanted to make sure city services had everything they needed to get what they need to get done. I should add that I also kind of wanted to make sure everyone gets paid enough, which wasn't on there. It's like a living wage. And then here we have a park plan citywide and beach access improvements. And then I, like a crazy person, I didn't find enough things that I wanted to put stickers next to. So I just kind of invented a whole bunch of things like, just wanted to kind of expand like mental health services, care for homeless people. I came from Seaside where there was a big renovation project on Broadway that put a lot of people out of their business and out of their homes as property values rose and drowned everybody out, including me, who had to move. And I'm happy to be here in Marina, but I also don't want to see that same kind of gentrification come here and destroy everybody's lives. So there's a lot of things I wrote here that would kind of protect us from that. And then, as I mentioned, big picture stuff like legal services for immigrants and stuff like that. Here, we all really agreed on the community center and city hall and police and fire station needing improvements.
Wow, super impressive. I think the city's hiring in the finance department. So for those of you interested in helping out with this on a real-time basis, please check out the city's website. No, I'm just kidding. So again, just to reiterate, the city is very serious about listening to all the great insights that you shared today. All this information, including the posted added notes, will be provided to council to help inform their budget decisions. We finished early. Wow, you guys really are overachievers today. Thank you very much. But I'm gonna, do you want to take a few minutes for any final comments or questions, or do you want to just go ahead and close us out early and get us to our Saturday evening?
Just got a few comments. I can't tell you how important this was, and your feedback, it truly was amazing. You have things like on our city end, we're focusing on police and fire facilities, and you guys gave us a very different perspective. Our group this morning gave us some very different perspectives and insight. As you're talking, I'm making all these notes, and individually, I'm going to contact some of you people individually because I want to follow up on some of the things that you said and some of your input. I hope you walk away feeling that you played really an important part of our process. You will see these results as they're compiled. Go to our website. If you have further comment, this is not the end result by any means. Our budget process is going to continue. We're planning our April 22nd is going to be a budget study session. Again, this is kind of high level. We kind of put the budget together. It's not the final budget, but it's getting a draft out there again to get your feedback and input. And then the budget hearings really will be in May, and then we adopt the budget in June. But this has just been invaluable. I so much appreciate. I don't know if the mayor or because I think the mayor has some final words would be great.
Thank you, Lane. I wanted to say thank you to the staff because they're here on a Saturday, and we've in the 50 years of being in Marina, we've never had a community budget workshop. We've always had city council meetings that discuss the budget, city council retreats that discuss the budget that welcome to. This was for the public. So if two people would have showed up, we probably wouldn't have done this again. It's not been done before. It's not worth it to the staff to put all the time in if the public doesn't want it. And so I hope that next time we do it, maybe in 2 years, it'll be even better attended. But today was well worth doing it, and I thank staff for that. I don't know if you had enough time to look at these two handouts, so I hope that you get them on your way out. The most important of the two, I believe, is it's now been vetted for 6 years, a ranked list of over 120 projects. That's everything on the board, everything that's on the burner, everything that's in our minds that we want in Marina, ranked top to bottom. So if you want the top 3 priorities or 5 or 10 or 20, just go from top to bottom. And if there's something here that you don't want or you do want, let us know during the upcoming budget workshops. So if the floating bridge across Lock Padden Park is not on here, then we'll get it on there. But it is on there because somebody else before you wanted it there and we ranked it. So we are having an institutional memory here so that you can find out what's on our plate and what's not on our plate and what's too high or what's ranked too low. The other thing that's is this other list of our capital improvement projects. So these are projects, there's some overlap between the two lists, but there's some projects on our capital improvement program list that aren't on the priority list. But anyway, these two lists are where we're spending money and where we're thinking. And so we want to be aligned with you all, and we do that by hearing from you. So thanks for coming today, and thanks to our facilitator, did a great job. And I hope that we see more faces than we've ever seen before at budget meetings. That means like 4 of you got to show up next time. And we'll be moving in the right direction. Have a great weekend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.